Here's how you create prompt templates to standardize your work when you're working with AI. So this is ChatGPT, and say you have a task. I'm using a standard task that I like to do a lot of testing for, which is to get ChatGPT to tell me a funny joke. Because it's particularly bad at this task. Usually when you ask it for a funny joke, it just gives you a dad joke, or it gives you lots of disclaimers. You can see here that it's squirmish when you ask it to emulate a comedian. And this doesn't sound like Dave Chappelle here. It doesn't. It's not as funny as you would normally get. But ChatGPT is actually capable of this. Now, I'm using this as just as a placeholder task. Like, you might be writing a blog post with AI. You might be writing emails, you might be creating reports, whatever it is you're doing for your work. Once you find a template that works, you want to start to standardize and templatize it. I don't recommend doing that in ChatGPT because ChatGPT is personal to you. There is a Teams version of ChatGPT, but the problem is that they have a lot of system instructions in ChatGPT that make the results non-standard. If I put something in my ChatGPT, it might not give similar results to yours. So what I recommend you do is you go and create a developer account. You don't have to be a developer. You don't need to know how to code. But if you go to platform.openai.com, you can sign up. And then you will actually have to pay for this per API call, but put the corporate credit card on there, and it's pretty cheap unless you're doing lots of volume. So it usually comes out way cheaper than paying for ChatGPT. Now, the benefit of using the playground is that you get to control the system message. So you can put whatever you want in here, and it's part of your template. And then whenever you create, another template, say you want to just create another chat history, then you can put whatever system message you want, or you can put no system message in there. And that's much better than what you get with ChatGPT, because whatever you put in your custom instructions, that's also added to about 1,000 words that they put into the template as well. This is a lot more stable. The other thing that's useful is you can switch models much more easily in here. So it's not just GPT-4 and GPT 3.5, but you also have the longer context models. You have access to your fine-tuned models if you're doing anything like that. You can use the newer stuff like GPT-4 Preview. I'm going to use GPT-4 here. You can change some of the parameters as well, temperature, maximum length. You can set stop sequences, whatever you want to play around with, you can do that. So this is really powerful, and you prompt it just the same way that you would prompt ChatGPT. I'm just going to copy across my joke here and then put submit, and then it just responds in line, just the same as it does with ChatGPT. Now, one of the things you can do is when you change the system message, you can say pirate. And when you hit submit, then straight away it's changing the behavior of the AI. And that's much more painful to do in custom instructions. But the really powerful thing you can do is that if you like this template, you can click save, and you can say talk like a pirate. Maybe put some description here, and then you can make it available for anyone to view. So I can save that now, and then I can share it. So I can click on here and copy the text, and then anyone else who has that link can go use it. The other thing is you can pass this to a developer as well. So you can click view code, and right now, you can see straight away that it has the actual code that the developer needs to run, including the system message and so on and so forth. It helps you make that leap from a template to an actual product. Now, I showed you a template earlier, and you can see I have a ton of these templates saved. So I'm just going to go through what a standard template is and what part goes into the messages versus the system. So this is my funny joke structure, and just to show you how well it works, I'm just going to hit submit here. What I'm asking is for Dave Chappelle to tell me a joke about robots telling jokes. So meta. And the joke it's come up with here is that you ever hear a robot tell a joke? Man, it's funny in a way that makes you question reality. Like, why did the robot go on a diet? Because he had too many bites. Like, man, I wish I could laugh, but I'm too busy thinking about the impending singularity. All right, we can run this again and again. And that's part of the nice thing is you can just delete it and then run again. And so it makes it much better for testing. You could also open up multiple ones of this. Because you are paying for each API call, you can just submit multiple ones, right? It's not going to block you. You're not going to hit the API rate limit. Whereas with ChatGPT Plus, sometimes you will. So I use this for testing wherever possible. You can see how often it's good. And then you can change the template and then test new changes, which is really helpful. So that's one of the main reasons to use this. Now, what have I done to set this up? So one is I have the system message, and usually I don't start with the system message. I try and do it in the user message first. But once I have something working, I'll move it across. Now, the system message, what it's supposed to be for is really the template itself. Ignore the specific thing you're trying to ask it to do, but the general task itself, that's where these instructions go. So the task that we're trying to get it to do is to tell a joke. But if you were writing a blog post, you'd have instructions here for how to write a blog post. Now, here I have a few different things, like write an original joke on the topic. And I've tested a lot of this wording and found that this is what works. The really useful thing I have here is that I'm asking it to deliver structured data. I have the input, like the topic of the joke, and then I have the output, which I've asked it to give a disclaimer. Because in my testing, I found that if you allow it to give you a disclaimer in the data that it responds, then it's much more comfortable telling you a funnier joke, and it doesn't put that disclaimer in the actual response like this. And so that means that when you're using this template, if you're a developer, you can then just copy. You don't have to. You can drop the rest of the disclaimer and everything. You can literally just grab this. And as a developer, you know how to parse JSON, so you could grab that text out. Cool. So that's the system message, and that is the kind of general instructions for the task itself. But then the specific instructions for this task goes in the user message here. If I wanted it to tell a joke about breakfast and Chris Rock, then I submit that here. If I wanted to tell a joke about bicycles and Robin Williams, then I submit that there. Now, why do I have all these in here? You noticed the one thing I actually asked it to do was to tell a joke in the style of Dave Chappelle about robots, but I had all these other ones in there already. And that's by design, actually. You can trick it into believing it's already responded successfully to these things. So one of the mistakes I see people do is that they put lots of examples in the prompt in here, like they'll say like input, output, or they'll put it in the system message. But I would say you just want to talk about the format itself rather than give an example of a specific joke. The actual examples that you wanted to give of past times it's done a good job is in the message stream itself. And I think in general it listens to this much better. It feels more natural. It's essentially kind of saying it doesn't know that it didn't say these things. You're basically telling it, hey, this is what you said before when I asked you for Chris Rock at breakfast. This is what you said before when I asked you for Robin Williams and bicycles. And it goes, oh, okay, I guess that's how I respond now. And it will give you a pretty good example back. I find it follows the examples much better when they're in this message stream rather than formatted in here. It's also a little bit cleaner because you have your general instructions, and then you have the specific thing you wanted to ask, and then you have the examples all listed in here. Cool. This is really powerful. And if you wanted to save one of these templates, you can hit save, and you can also save as new or update an old template. I'll share this one with you guys. So I'll just update that, and then I'll share that in this video.